Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Coffee and Bonsai with Tom. Today we're going to talk about pruning for balance. You ever wonder why some trees just look amazing? I mean, they're full, they're consistent, nothing looks out of place. They have great growth on the top and the middle and the bottom, and they just look very natural, like nothing kind of grabs your eye. And other trees maybe look a bit more like a hedge, or they're sort of very strong in one area and very weak in another area, and the overall shape is just not balanced at all. Well, this is all down to pruning, and I'm going to talk a bit about that today and give you some tips about how I prune my trees. So you can see this tree here has put on a bit of growth. On the left here, I don't think I've shown you this tree before. It's one of my Portulacarias, and it has kind of a history. Let's just spin it around and take a look at it. But you can see it's been growing for a bit. And this is about the time that I prune them, right? Where it's getting a little bit wild. Maybe I would prune a little bit earlier than this. But I want to, give the tree some feedback so that it's not wasting time growing in a way that I don't want it to. And you can see this one here, there's a lot of growth here in the bottom that's thickened up a lot. And I'm styling this tree as a windblown. So I probably don't want that growth on the bottom there. And I would much rather have it over on the right-hand side in any one of those branches, but maybe most specifically the bottom branch so that it will get thicker. And I found, you generally prune for one of three reasons, either for shaping, which you usually do initially, where you're removing branches you don't want, to thicken up an area, right? So in that case, you're not pruning, right? You're allowing something to grow wild because you want to thicken that branch or that part of the tree. Or, you want to balance it, right? Which is what I want to do in this case, right? Where I want to stop the tree from growing in one area and convince it to grow in another area. Because, left to its own devices, it will just put more and more energy into its strongest growth in order to survive and thrive and get bigger and bigger. And that might be what you want, but more often than not, that's not what you want. You want to reduce those strong areas. So, and you can see here, that's my overall shape. You want to reduce the strong areas and really encourage it to grow in the weaker areas and thereby create balance. So for this specific tree, this growth down here is not something I want because I don't want to develop anything in this area. And you can see it's really taken off. And as I said, if I don't cut this back or off, it will continue to get stronger and stronger at the cost of other parts of the tree. And I really want the tree to focus on growing these branches here, the top, the middle, and most specifically the bottom. So what I want to do is more than likely just take these off. Now, a lot of it will depend on your design, or maybe I want to heal a bad wound or something, in which case I might allow some amount of growth near that wound because it sort of creates energy in that spot. But in this case, this tree is really out of balance because of all this growth which has sort of erupted where I did this most recent cut, and I want to just take it off. And I think I'm just going to take it completely off because I have no desire to grow anything in this part of the tree. There we go. Looks better already, and look, I've got some great cuttings, which are practically as tall as the tree itself. And you can see they're quite strong, and these would root very, very quickly. You can see, here, let me find it. Yeah, so even this smaller branch is like as big as my primary branches, so I really, in the interest of sort of balancing the growth, I really should have cut this up sooner. Let me just take this off because I also don't want this growing here. And now, at least we're looking much more like a windblown. But if I look at this, you can see the top growth is very, very aggressive. It's really taking off. And ports, it's generally what they do. Anything that it's closest to the sun tends to take off, and then it just steals more and more energy, to the detriment of the rest of the plant. So, we definitely want to do something about that. And, I also take this opportunity to do some directional pruning, so that the new growth I do get is going in the direction that I want. So one thing I like to do, is just hold up a line, right? So you can kind of see, what you might want the profile to look like. And if I do that here, and regardless of the angle I choose, you can see that top growth is super, super aggressive. And, the basic trick on balancing here is either, unless you want it to grow in that area, is to reduce the aggressive growth in favor of the weaker growth. Unless you want to, you want that aggressively growing area to massively thicken up, in which case you just let it ride. Um, and of course, for a tree in maintenance, you're trying to balance everything all over so that you get equal growth all around the tree. But I think I'm going to really take this top back because I really want these other branches to grow a lot more. And that will allow them to not only get more sun, but also get more of the plant's growing resources. So now that we've got the top kind of taken care of, I'll move down to this middle branch and the lower branch. Again, I want to apply the same principles. What I really want to do is get this lower branch to really take off and get that established, and then sort of move up the tree as I go. And I should also mention that different species grow differently. Ports really kind of grow strongly and kind of shoot new growth all over and come back nicely. But they also tend to grow top dominant. There are other trees like azalea that want to grow at the base and not the top. So in that case, you want to kind of reverse what you're doing, but again, reduce that strong area in favor of the weak area. And I don't know how much I'm going to take off the bottom. I think I want to fix growth that's just going in the wrong direction, but I sort of want to take the minimum off, again, using that same principle of wanting that area to get stronger and stronger, so that it will continue to grow vigorously. So I think I'll just do a few nips and tucks on this bottom in order to keep it strong. For me, if there's stuff that, every time I look at the tree, if it's going to bother me, I just take it off because I want to enjoy them, and that's a huge part of what this hobby's all about. These trees are really for you. You look at them vastly more than anybody, so, make yourself happy. And I think I'll eventually bring this down. I was kind of just thinking about that as I'm pruning, maybe bring them both down. I don't think I'll do that today, but I sort of like that. I think maybe just a little guy wire to give it a little more shape. I'll have to go look at windswept trees. I don't really have any, and I want to see generally how they're formed. But I don't know. That arc looked pretty good to me, so I think it looked sort of very natural and flowing. So I think I might go ahead and do that. And this balancing, you tend to have to do this pretty often with ports, because they grow so quickly and they'll quickly get out of balance, and they sort of need new correction. I mean, oftentimes every couple of weeks. So this is sort of an ongoing process, and unlike other trees, you can just continually prune these things, and they don't weaken in the way that trees that have more of a flush of growth and then need a period to rest do. So it's quite an advantage of this species. But I think this is looking pretty good. I think we're pretty close. And it just needs to sit out and grow some more. So while I'm thinking about it, I want to show you this pot. I got this. This is a candied clay pot. I think I've talked about them before. You can look at my playlist, some of my pot stuff. And they call this lemonade. And I just love this yellow crackle. It's just beautiful. This pot just really kind of makes me happy to look at. And, with that, take a final look while we do our closing thoughts. So a parting thought I had here is, balancing your tree is with pruning is it's a lot of like balancing your investments. I mean, I'm not a financial advisor by any means, but the concepts are similar. You initially buy some stocks or some other investment, and the ones that do well tend to become a larger and larger percentage of what you have. And sometimes that's what you want. Some advisors say, "Hey, feed your winners. Just hang on to that and buy more." But a more conventional approach is to rebalance, right? So you sort of sell some of the stuff that's done well and reapply that to your other holdings to maintain your balance. And that's really kind of what we're doing here, is sort of maintaining our asset allocation of growth. Not to beat a dead horse, but you could also apply the buy low, sell high methodology, where buy low is you're really encouraging the weak growth to flourish, and selling high is you're kind of cutting back your unwanted aggressive growth to move health and vigor to the weaker area. But again, it all depends on what your goals are. And I think that kind of wraps up at least my thoughts on pruning to balance your bonsai growth. And I want to thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.